I've had this conversation with colleagues that don't inventory all the time. And I say, close your eyes and imagine your walk-in cooler as stacks of $20 bills. Would you count them if they were $20 bills? Would you count them? Yeah, you'd count them. Well, everything in that walk-in cooler is a $20 bill, and if you don't count it and pay attention to it, those $20 bills are either going to go in the garbage can or out the back door. And it's as simple as that. It's truly as simple as that. I mean, I've done so much stuff and downloaded and been on so many webinars and done so much in restaurantowner.com and have stolen so many things from it, I could not even keep count of it. But the single greatest thing I ever did on restaurantowner.com was write my business plan for this business from that template. And I can honestly say that there's a good chance without that business plan being on restaurantowner.com that I wouldn't even be here today.
Michael Passalacqua is the owner of Angelo's Restaurant, a very popular full-service Italian restaurant in Washington, Pennsylvania. Angelo's is known for its delicious, authentic, made-from-scratch food, warm ambience, and highly personable and friendly service staff. An important part of this success story is that Angelo's was opened as a small neighborhood tavern in 1939, over 75 years ago, by Michael's grandparents. As was common and even expected in those days, Michael's father grew up working in the business, and eventually he and his wife took over the restaurant. As you can imagine, over its lifetime, Angelo's has gone through lots of changes. In the past 20 years, Michael has slowly but steadily redefined and updated the Angelo's concept by adding more contemporary and upscale Italian menu items. Then, in 2008, in response to a more competitive marketplace, he decided to relocate the restaurant into a new, much larger 5,800 square foot freestanding building with a large dining room and 3 private dining rooms and a gelato bar. But one thing that hasn't changed is Michael's appreciation and commitment to his parents' and grandparents' legacy of superior food, consistency, and as Michael says, an appreciation for every single person who walks through their doors. In this success story, I want to show you how Michael has been able to maintain the best qualities of Angelo's and evolve the concept and business into what it is today. While most restaurants of Angelo's era are long gone, Michael's carefully crafted innovations and smart business practices have kept Angelo's not only one of the most popular restaurants in town, but also a thriving business enterprise as well. During the 60s and 70s, Angelo's flourished with a simple menu specializing in traditional, made-from-scratch Italian food, specializing in spaghetti and meatballs. It was during this time that Michael began working in the family restaurant when he was in junior high and high school.
I think my first gig at working was 12 years old, 13 years old as a busboy, which was certainly not any fun or anything that I preferred to do. When I was 16 and I was a dishwasher or a busboy and all my friends were driving by in their cars, I thought my life was soon to be over and I was missing everything. But the kind of funny part is we were raised to believe we would not be in the restaurant business. My parents always wanted us to go do something not better, but maybe not as strenuous or as many hours or as hard. So we were never trained to be in the restaurant business. And being in the restaurant business is the last place I ever thought I would be.
So as a teenager, taking over the family restaurant business wasn't even a passing thought. So Michael went off to college at Kent State University on a wrestling scholarship and eventually went into law enforcement.
I went to college on a wrestling scholarship, which I blew, and then I became a student, and then I started working at the juvenile court system, which led me to the sheriff's department, led me to the Kent State University Police Department, and I was a police officer for 6 years and thought I would be in law enforcement for the rest of my life. In fact, in those days, I would imagine myself as a chief of police someplace.
But as is often the case in the lives of people destined for the restaurant business, the unexpected happened. Michael got a call from his father who asked him to come home and give the restaurant business a try.
And I didn't want to, but something went off and wouldn't leave me alone, and I made the decision and I came back here, and the first couple of years were pretty rough. It was a gigantic adjustment to make, and I distinctly remember one Saturday evening at 5:30 standing in a mirror putting a tie on a hot summer day when everybody else was out playing and I was getting ready to go to work, and looking in the mirror saying, well, this is what you're going to do, so you might as well learn to like it. And some switch got thrown right then and there, and I started paying attention.
I hope you caught Michael's last statement. I started paying attention. It was at that point that Michael decided to get serious about the restaurant business. For the next several years, Michael and his father worked together operating Angelo's until 1992, when Michael officially assumed control. Since Angelo's has been around for over 75 years, one thing I was itching to ask him was how much of Angelo's current success is a result of the legacy that's been passed on to him from his grandparents and parents.
That's a complicated question because it's so multifaceted for us. I mean, for one, we've been in business since 1939, and there are just literally generations of families who have dined with us, from traditional foods to the more upscale things that we do now. We've always been very personable in our restaurant. Our service staff has to be a very personable group of people. And I think more than anything singularly that you could point out is we just care. We fuss and we care about the guest experience. You know, we know people's names, we know their birthdays, we know their kids, they know us. Hey, this is Chuck, I want table 16 tonight, and I want Jorge as my server. You know, those kind of things. The people that work for us and stay with us and become part of us are literally family, and that it exudes outward. And our loyal customers, guests, I don't even like to call them customers, guests, feel that. And it's a certain sincerity and a certain warmth that we have, in addition to the things that we do that nobody else does. 3 rooms that seat up to 60 people, make gelato and serve it and display it in the front door, have a patio that you can sit outside and eat in, even when it's really cold outside, have a big bright bar, cater off premise, have all kind of party trays that go out the door. So many little points of differential. Plus the fact that we do things, we don't skimp on ingredients.
I asked Michael to explain specifically some of the things that they continue to do in regards to their food that's been part of Angelo's DNA.
We make so much stuff fresh here. We make our own lemon juice, we make our own stocks, we make our own soups, we make all our salad dressings, we make our meatballs, we make our lasagna. We make, when you order chicken piccata, it's a piece of floured and buttered chicken in a pan with garlic, shocked with white wine and lemon and chicken stock and capers and mushrooms, and cooked down singularly in that dish. There's no pot of marsala sauce someplace. So we're painstakingly laborious. We don't skimp on any of the things that we do. And sometimes it's a little frustrating because we're more expensive than the next guy down the street. And I get annoyed when people talk about us being expensive, because there's no comparison in the $3.50 a pound fresh 5.5 ounce chicken breast I use to the 99-cent a pound pre-grilled, pre-cooked, frozen chicken breast that they use in their salad. So it's with me, I always try to educate people and always try to teach people what true value is. And so we literally refuse to skimp on quality. We take very few shortcuts, and for the most part, for the minimally discerning diner, they can taste the difference. So those things all add up to that.
Over the past several years, Michael has leveraged the restaurant's 75-year legacy of hospitality and quality with several world-class systems. First, he credits much of his success in assembling a stable, high-performing, and friendly staff to a personality assessment tool called the Predictive Index.
Well, one of the first things that we do is we use a system called the Predictive Index when we hire people. It is a measurement of, it's an assessment of someone's personality. It's not if they're crazy, if they're high, or if they're reliable, or any of those things. It just basically tells people how they're wired based from 4 levels. 1, self-starting capabilities. 2, social feedback. 3, whether they're a routine person or a multitasker. And 4, whether or not they're somebody that has a lot of formality, needs a lot of instruction, does things off their cuff. For example, if you come in and apply for a line cook's job and it says that you're relatively self-starting but that you require a high degree of routine in your life, chances are I'm not going to put you to work as a line cook, because routine people tend to do one thing at a time over and over. Now, if you want to be a prep cook and roll 240 meatballs a day, come on back. But I won't typically put you to work there. So part of this in the beginning is putting people in jobs that fit the way they're naturally wired. My service people have to have a very high social need, have to be extremely multitasking, and have to be able to follow a certain amount of instructions. Not a high degree, but because they gotta change decisions. They got to make decisions on the fly, you know. So the personality of the best server is sort of altruistic, and so that's 40% of our hiring.
In addition to hiring the right people and putting them in a position that best suits their personality, Michael is also serious about systems and numbers. I asked him about some of the systems he uses to manage his inventory and food cost.
When it comes to systems, we have a lot. Maybe some not so visible as others, but we produce a menu engineering every week, which means we've got a complete product file, a complete recipe file, complete updating of those prices all the time, so that the menu engineering reflects the true theoretical cost of food and labor, of food. And then, of course, we do a complete whole house inventory every Sunday and produce an inventory. And on Tuesday afternoons at 2 o'clock, I meet with my accountant assistant, my manager, and my chef, and we sit down with the menu engineering, the theoretical cost, as opposed to the actual cost, and dissect the actual cost against the theoretical. If the theoretical says the food cost is 26.8, and the actual says it's 28.2, well, we look at how much food, the employee discounts, how much stuff possible. We'll tally something up from a waste list and look at that and kind of piecemeal, this is why, this is this.
I followed that up by asking Michael what he would say to an operator who claimed that they didn't have enough time to conduct a physical inventory every week.
I've had this conversation with colleagues that don't inventory all the time. And I say, close your eyes and imagine your walk-in cooler as stacks of $20 bills. Would you count them if they were $20 bills? Would you count them? Yeah, you'd count them. Well, everything in that walk-in cooler is a $20 bill, and if you don't count it and pay attention to it, those $20 bills are either going to go in the garbage can or out the back door. And it's as simple as that.
In addition to calculating his theoretical or ideal food cost and comparing it to actual food cost each week, Angelo's also produces a complete weekly P&L.
The P&L gives us complete percentages: food cost 28, liquor 22, whatever it is, labor cost, and there's a big blocked off area after food and labor for prime cost, and we produce a weekly P&L, a year-to-date P&L, and a year-to-date compared to 2015 spreadsheet: January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August. So we know where we are from 2015 to 2016, as well as keeping track of all those things. So The single most important cost control measure to me is a accurate weekly inventory. And if something's thrown off on it, I'll make them re-inventory or bring another person in to help with the following Sunday's inventory to make sure there's two eyes on something so we can correct something where it's that.
Michael has been a longtime member of restaurantowner.com. So I asked him what were some of the areas that he thought the website and magazine have helped him become a better operator and businessman.
I mean, I've done so much stuff and downloaded and been on so many webinars and done so much in restaurantowner.com and have stolen so many things from it, I could not even keep count of it. But the single greatest thing I ever did on restaurantowner.com was write my business plan for this business from that template. That business plan got me the investors that the bank did what they said they were going to do, and they gave me the rest of the money to build this place. But if it wasn't for that astute, well-designed, well-written business plan, I'd have never had this place. So I give RO a ton of credit for that particular thing. But I still log on frequently. I still use a lot of things from restaurantowner.com. You have a long form evaluation in there that we use every year to give to the employees to evaluate us, and then we can get a determination of the culture from that evaluation about how many people give good scores and how many people give bad scores. And part of our yearly staff meeting with everybody is to talk about what was examined in that evaluation, and that's just one of the millions of forms that you have on the website. So I can honestly say that there's a good chance without that business plan being on restaurantowner.com that I wouldn't even be here today.
Having grown up in the restaurant business and after a short hiatus as a police officer, Michael followed in his father's and his grandfather's footsteps by not only continuing but building on the Angelo's legacy. I asked Michael what he likes best about being a restaurant owner.
The best thing about being a restaurant owner is being a restaurant owner. At this stage in my life, it's as much of who I am as anything. I mean, I can't go anywhere as Michael Passalacqua. I go everywhere as the owner of Angelo's restaurant. I mean, it's a living, breathing thing. It truly is. I mean, it is 70, with the exception of my wife and my family and my kids and my little grandkids, there's nothing else. One of the things I like about it now is that I have some freedom. If I don't want to come to work on Saturday night, I don't come to work on Saturday night. This new, well, it's not new now, it's 8 years old, but moving into this facility with this kind of sales allows me more freedom. But I mean, really, the best thing about being a restaurant owner is being a restaurant owner. We are so different than any other retailer out there. I mean, in 1994, Restaurant News, or one of the magazines, did an expose on restaurateurs versus other retailers. We're more likely to have hobbies. We're more likely to be physically active. We are more likely to run for political office. We were more likely to be activists for our industries. We were more likely to be community-minded. We were more likely to give back to the community. We were more likely to have our employees like us. I mean, it was a brilliant expose on the people who are in this industry. And I know hundreds of people in this industry, and they're all pretty much at that market.
We couldn't agree more with that assessment of independent restaurant owners, and Michael is no exception. He's been actively involved in his community for decades and has served in numerous roles, including director and president for the Pennsylvania Restaurant Association. We want to thank Michael, Angelo's general manager Dawn, Chef George, and the entire staff for their wonderful hospitality and incredible food. Angelo's is another shining example of why independent restaurants are the best restaurants in the world, and they are run by the nicest and most deserving people on the planet.